Hey, welcome. I am so excited that you are here. I have created this short training to share with you so that you can understand how my client Mandy has lost over 3 stone without dieting. And for those of you who are new to my world, my name is Jenny McDonald. I'm known as the Food Freedom Fairy, and I help women who are exhausted with being stuck in the diet cycle and trying so hard to have more willpower and to get the results that they want. And I take them from that frustration to food freedom and teach them how they can lose weight without dieting, but most importantly, how they can reconnect with who they are and heal their relationship with food and with themselves. Because we don't need to live in this cycle of shame and guilt with eating. And I've been there myself. I spent the first years of my life into my late 20s battling with food. So I know how difficult it is to be in a body that you are not comfortable in. So I'm going to share with you the key things that Mandy worked on to get these results. So Mandy says she will never ever diet again. And by the way, if you want to hear Mandy's story in her own words, let me know and I can send you a link. So, the first thing Mandy did was stop dieting. Now, hear me out because I know that can feel difficult. But Mandy stopped restricting food. She stopped counting calories, points, sins, and she started to enjoy food and eat for pleasure. Now, as I say, I know this can feel really difficult to do because for years we have been taught that the only way to lose weight is by obsessing over calories and being strict with yourself and trying harder, having more self control. But let's face it, if you have been doing all of that for the past 10, 20, 30, maybe even 40 years and it hasn't worked yet, then surely it is time to take a different approach. Surely you have enough evidence to prove that isn't the solution for you. Because the thing is, restricting food, it kind of makes you want it more. Yeah, we all know that moment when it's like, oh, I'm not allowed to have any more calories today. Why am I so hungry? And it also makes you ignore your body's natural cues because when you are hungry, you're thinking, well, how many calories have I got left for the day? And am I allowed that? And this is when we lose touch with what our bodies actually need. When you let go of dieting and you start to understand your body, everything changes. You tune in, you listen, you notice how do you feel after eating that bowl of pasta? How do you feel when you have a sandwich for lunch versus when you have, I don't know, a salad or some chicken and vegetables? And you you understand what real hunger is and what real fullness is. And you also start to look at when you reach for that less nourishing food, let's say the bar of chocolate or whatever your go-to food is, you start to wonder what is really going on for me. And this isn't about making yourself wrong or calling yourself naughty or bad. It's about leaning in. And this is where Mandy started, and she will now openly say she never needs to diet again because she's got tools to lean in and understand her eating. So that brings me on to the second point I wanted to share with you, which is understanding your emotional eating and understanding what else is driving your eating. So this is where I invite you to get curious without judgment. And this isn't about um as I say, it's not about berating yourself. It's about thinking, isn't it interesting that after work I chose to come home, stand in my kitchen, staring out the window while shoving in a giant bag of crisps? What was going on for me then? What actually happened today to make me respond like that? What problem am I trying to solve with this bag of crisps? Or another example is, isn't it interesting that I can eat really healthy all week and then on a Saturday I can't stop eating? What's that about? What's going on for me? What are my underlying thoughts here? And when you lean into these moments, you will spot your own patterns and you will deepen your awareness. And a great question to ask yourself is, what is it I really need in this moment? What am I hoping this packet of crisps are going to do for me? They're great questions. And maybe in the moment you need a hug. Maybe you need to call a friend. Maybe it's about emptying your thoughts out so that you can process what you are thinking and feeling. And maybe it's also about learning how to self regulate, which brings me onto my next point, because I have a client called Louise, and Mandy's the same. And she now says she is no longer an emotional eater. And that was after 6 weeks in the program. And she said that because she now understands and she spots when she's craving certain foods and she has the tools to make different choices. So, back to my third point, that is learning how to self regulate. And as I say, if you struggle with food, the chances are you are often eating to regulate your emotions. When you are feeling anxious, stressed, lost, bored, lonely, depressed, sad, and all of the other emotions, when you haven't got a strategy to bring yourself back into balance, food is there. And this isn't your fault. It's just the way you have learned to cope with life. So, somewhere along the way in your past, you learned that if you were feeling a discomfort in your body, that heavy pudding, that starch felt really good, that toast with loads of butter, it soothed you in the moment. And you learned that was your strategy to regulate. So, what's happened all of these years later is your strategy has become your go to. It's embedded. And actually, it's a great strategy in some ways. It's worked for you up until now. It's kept you as safe. It's kept you from feeling that discomfort, that pain, or it's soothed you in some way. So it's done its job. But actually, now is the time to find other ways to cope with life's discomforts, with those feelings. And when you are able to self regulate, and there are many ways we can do this because it's not always a one size fits all, but when you are able to do that, then you are able to stop reaching for the wine, the crisps, the biscuits, because you no longer need them to soothe. Now, there are other aspects that I could go into, and maybe that's for a separate video because I want to keep this one short. But things like releasing beliefs that are keeping you stuck and hidden blocks, things like maybe your weight is keeping you safe. Let's face it, we hold on to weight until we don't need it anymore. So why are you still holding it? And also aligning your energy to being able to release weight, fat with ease. And maybe, as I say, I'll cover that on another video. So, just to round up, if you have been nodding along and thinking, this makes complete sense, and I know that dieting is not the solution, and you would like to know more, not only know my formula that I use with my clients, but also have my support and my guidance with you for the next 6 months, then comment below and I will share the details with you. Because honestly, it doesn't have to be difficult. I know that all of those years I was dieting, it felt like such an uphill battle. But when I learned the simplicity of releasing weight without all of that pressure, it was a beautiful journey. And in fact, with the right formula, tools, and support, the ripple effect it has across your entire life is insane. The confidence, the joy, the peace within, because you finally tackled something that has hovered over you like a dark cloud for all of these years. So, I hope you found this helpful. And as I say, if you would like to know more, if you would like to know my formula, comment below, DM me, and I will be in touch. Take care.